Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Preeti Kaur. Coming up in the next 1 hour. Indian Parliament to elect Speaker of the lower house. The first contest to happen in decades. WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange walks free after reaching plea deal in the US court. His years-long legal battle ends. Mass protest against new taxes turned violent in Kenya. Parliament compound stormed, buildings set ablaze, 5 casualties reported. Indian High Commission issues advisory. Russian Defense Minister speaks with his US counterpart for the first time in more than a year. Warns of the danger of further escalating the situation through continued supplies of American weapons to the Ukrainian armed forces. The stage is all set for the contest for the post of Speaker of the lower house, with BJP MP Om Birla and Congress MP K. Suresh filing their nominations on Tuesday. The development sets the stage for a contest for the Lok Sabha Speaker for the first time since 1976. The Bharatiya Janata Party has issued whips asking the Lok Sabha MPs to be present in the Parliament at the time of voting for the Lok Sabha Speaker election. The NDA has fielded Om Birla, while the Congress has fielded K. Suresh for the post. Voting is scheduled to be held at 11 a.m. on Wednesday. All right, Dibendu Mondal is joining us for more. Dibendu, good morning. We've just told our viewers that the voting will be held at 11 a.m. and it is a crucial day because the exercise will happen after decades. It was in 1976. After that, it is happening now. What more can you add? Let us get more from you.
Well, good morning, Preeti. That's right. This exercise of the election of the Lok Sabha Speaker is happening after many, many decades. Perhaps this is the third time ever since independence that the Lok Sabha Speaker's post is going to elections. It was in 1976, just after the emergency. The Speaker's election was held in the Parliament. But again, this time around, no consensus was reached between the ruling party and the opposition. And therefore, the opposition fielded K. Suresh of the Congress to contest against the NDA candidate Om Birla. The election will take place at about 11 a.m. when the Parliament convenes here in New Delhi. So, of course, interesting to see that the number of votes that Om Birla gets, given the fact that YSRCP have extended their support to the NDA candidate Om Birla. So, of course, the numbers are in favor of the NDA. So, it will be a smooth sail for Om Birla to be elected as the next Lok Sabha Speaker. But what the opposition is perhaps trying to make is that it is trying to make a point here by saying that, well, we'll not let this slip away so easily. Yesterday, even in Parliament, Rahul Gandhi, when we were talking to Rahul Gandhi, he did say that, he did accuse, in fact, the BJP of not reaching out to the Congress to build consensus. Whereas, on the other hand, the BJP is saying that, the Congress is demanding that the deputy speaker's post be given to them. But the politics of, the speaker's post and the deputy speaker's post cannot be a politics of give and take. And therefore, the talks fell off and we are witnessing an election of the Lok Sabha speaker's post after many, many decades. So, in fact, at about from an hour from now, we'll have this election in the lower house of the Indian Parliament. The BJP have also issued whips for all its parliamentarians to be present. All the NDA parties yesterday we saw supported Om Birla's candidature for the Lok Sabha Speaker's post. Of course, having said this, Preeti, this is going to be a smooth sail for Om Birla to be elected as the next Speaker of the Lok Sabha. Preeti?
All right, yes. It would be a smooth sail for Om Birla, is what you tell us, Dibendu. But then for the benefit of our viewers, let us understand more from you as to how important for NDA government 3.0, for Modi government 3.0 is the post of Speaker in the Lok Sabha.
Preeti, the speaker's post is absolutely crucial given the fact that, the speaker decides on many of the factors inside the parliament when the businesses of the houses of the house is conducted. Also, given the fact that, the speaker's post will also deal with the fact that of the indiscipline of the MPs inside the floor of the house. It also decides on a significant number of issues, including the ruckus that is many a times created inside the parliament. So, keeping all these points in mind, the speaker plays a very, very crucial role on the floor of the house to maintain discipline of the house, to ensure that the house is conducted smoothly, the businesses are conducted in a proper parliamentary manner. Also, of the fact that the defection laws when it comes to place lies within the power of the Lok Sabha speaker. So in fact the post of the Lok Sabha speaker is very, very significant. It is a constitutional post, so of course it holds many powers given the fact that it leads the house, the lower house of the Indian Parliament. Preeti?
All right. Yes, Dibindu, you're talking of no consensus was, the opposition and the NDA were not able to reach to a consensus with regard to the candidature of the speaker. Having said that, you also talked of how give and take could not be done as was suggested by the opposition. At this point, how do you analyze the intent of the opposition? Because, on one hand, they did talk of, asking for the post of the deputy speaker when, and after that, they put forth a sudden change of heart and they filed their own candidate for the post of speaker. So put all this together, what is your evaluation of the intent of the opposition? Because for a house to function smoothly, the stand of the opposition, the intent of the opposition is very important.
Well, absolutely, Preeti. The intent, as you rightly said, of the opposition to make the house function properly and in order and businesses be conducted in a productive manner inside the house is very, very important, not only for the government, but also for the opposition. Because without the cooperation of the opposition, it is absolutely impossible for the house to run in order. And what the opposition perhaps is trying to show this time around by repeatedly saying that the number they have this time around is much more than what they had in the last two terms. So therefore, they will not let the house perhaps function in a very, very smooth manner, given the fact that, they are trying to showcase that the power that they have this time around is much more. But, as far as the speaker and the deputy speaker's position is also concerned, why the consensus was not reached, as we spoke about earlier, also because the fact that, yesterday the BJP had also been talking about how the Congress has not been following this precedent of giving the deputy speaker's post to the opposition. The BJP put out several examples. For example, in Karnataka, where the Congress is in power, the deputy speaker's post is not with the opposition, which is the BJP. For example, the Trinamool Congress, which today morning have extended support to Congress's candidate K. Suresh. In Bengal, the deputy speaker's post also lies with the Trinamool Congress. So therefore, if they are not following the precedent, the BJP questions, how do they expect the others to do that? First, set your house in order, and then you can perhaps question the others. And there is no constitutional norm for the fact to give the deputy speaker's post to the opposition, but it is a precedent that was set in the earlier times. But there is no written constitutional norm
yes.
For that. But of course, given the fact that this time the BJP has a significant number of allies in its NDA fold, it is expected that the deputy speaker's post could go to one of its NDA allies. And rightly so, because the BJP would want that the two crucial posts of the speaker and the deputy speaker remains with them, and they have all the right to do so in their constitutional capacity. So therefore, the opposition is only trying to, arm twist the government or perhaps create some sense of, ruckus within the parliament to ensure that the smooth functioning of the parliament doesn't happen in the coming sessions when the parliament will sit and discuss through bills and crucial, most importantly, the upcoming budget session next month. So, of course, this perhaps shows the intent of the opposition parties here. Preeti.
All right, Devendra, we'll leave it here. Thank you so much for joining in with those details and analysis. We'll come back to you again once the voting begins in Lok Sabha. So that was our correspondent Devendra Montal joining us and telling us more about what could be expected when the lower house, the Lok Sabha, votes today for the post of the speaker. We'll keep you updated. Meanwhile, let's turn focus to other updates. India urged for a comprehensive reform in the United Nations Security Council during a debate on the report of the Security Council in United Nations General Assembly. Pratik Mathur, minister at India's permanent mission to the UN, also said that the reform should involve expansion in both its permanent and non-permanent categories.
It is thus high time to bring the Council in line with its charter responsibilities to act on behalf of the entire membership. This will not be achieved without enhancing the membership of the Council in both categories, permanent as well as non-permanent. We thus remain convinced that the only remedy is a comprehensive reform of the Security Council involving expansion in its permanent and non-permanent categories. Only this can enable the Council to manage effectively today's conflicts around the globe, as well as the increasingly complex and interconnected global challenges the world faces today.
The Indian Meteorological Department announced on Tuesday that the heat wave in northern parts of the country will abate soon, while heavy rainfall is expected to cover northeast and western India. Heat wave alerts for Punjab, Haryana, Uttar Pradesh, Bihar and Rajasthan have been issued. Also, heat wave is likely to continue in Rajasthan over the next 2 days and abate thereafter. The Met Department has also warned of extreme heavy rainfall in isolated parts of sub-Himalayan West Bengal and Sikkim, issuing a red alert for these areas. Uttarakhand is likely to experience heavy rainfall on June 28th and 29th. Also, heavy rainfall will continue along the western coast of India. Konkan and Goa will face 5 consecutive days of heavy rains, while south interior Karnataka, coastal Karnataka, Kerala and Mahe will see heavy rains from June 25th to 27th. The Met Department has forecast heavy rain for coastal Andhra Pradesh till June 28. Heavy rainfall and thunderstorms accompanied by lightning are likely at isolated places over coastal Andhra Pradesh and Yanam for 4 days till June 28. Also, as against the normal rainfall of 61.8 millimeters until June 20th, the state received 115.9 millimeters, with all districts in Rayalaseema region recording an excess. All right, Ravi Shankar is joining us from Guntur, Andhra Pradesh. Ravi, good morning. The Met Department has forecast heavy rainfall in the state till June 28th. Let us get more from you. How has the day begun?
Yeah, welcome to Andhra Pradesh. And the onset of southwest monsoon is on time to Andhra Pradesh, followed by Pondicherry, of course. And in Andhra Pradesh, it was totally recorded as 128.4 millimeters. If you see from June 1st to June 25th, this is the tenure. And it's normally 78.3 only, and it's at about 64%, much more than the recorded. And you can mention this as a large excess rainfall. And out of 26 districts of Andhra Pradesh, excess rainfall is only in 5 districts, and the large excess is in 12 districts. Fortunately, out of this 12 districts, Rayalaseema, which is known for its drought conditions previously, 8 districts of Rayalaseema are there in that 12 large excess 12 districts. And apart from that, Kakinada, Tirupati, Chittoor, Anantapur, these districts also recorded 100% excess rainfall. And Nandyal, it was 214 millimeters rainfall was recorded in the past 25 days, which was 171% excess, and it stands in the top of Andhra Pradesh. If you see the last one, that is Allur Sitaramaraju district, 105 mm only, and 25% deficient is there. And out of this, this rainfall, which has happened in last 25 days, it is going to help reservoirs very much, and farmers are very happy regarding that. And if you see the reservoirs, the main 2 reservoirs which are in Andhra Pradesh, number 1, Srisalam. Srisalam, it has the total capacity of 178 TMCs. And but now it is carrying only 37.4 TMCs, which is only 17.3% of that. And if you see Nagarjuna Sagar, it is of 312 TMC capacity, and it is carrying only 122.19 TMCs capacities, which is 39.1% only. So this rainfall, the past 25 days rainfall will comfortably make farmers happy. And the large amount of inflows from upstream is very much needed to fill the reservoir. Because yes. And the cotton, meat, body, all the farmers are very happy regarding this.
All right, so it is a relief from the heat wave as well, and it is proving to be a blessing for the farmers. Thank you so much, Ravi, for joining us with those inputs. And the Indian Parliament passed 3 new criminal laws: the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita, the Bharatiya Nagrik Suraksha Sanhita, and the Bharatiya Sakshay Adhiniyam. Now, these were done to replace the Indian Penal Code 1860, Criminal Procedure Code 1973, and the Indian Evidence Act 1872. These are soon to be implemented, but there are some myths related to these. DD India busts these myths for you in this report ahead.
The newly enacted laws Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita, Bharatiya Nagrik Suraksha Sanhita and Bharatiya Sakshay Act, which will completely overhaul the criminal justice system in the country, will come into effect from July 1st this year. The 3 laws got the Parliament's approval on December 21st last year, and President Draupadi Murmu gave her assent on December 25th. The laws will replace the colonial-era Indian Penal Code, the Code of Criminal Procedure and the Indian Evidence Act of 1872. The 3 legislations aim at completely overhauling the criminal justice system in the country by giving definitions of various offences and their punishments. However, the provision related to cases of hit and run by vehicle drivers will not be implemented immediately. There are several myths related to these 3 laws. The myth that the extension of police custody from 15 to 19 days is a shocking provision that will enable police torture. Although the truth is that the period of police custody is restricted to 15 days, under BNSS, police custody may be taken in parts or in whole within a period of 40 to 60 days out of the total period of 60 to 90 days as applicable. The court's discretion in granting police custody is retained as earlier. Further, the police custody beyond the first 15 days shall not be an impediment to grant bail to the accused.
We're heading for a short break. You're watching DD India News Hour. Stay with us. Welcome back after the break. You're watching DD India News Hour and I'm Preeti, getting you international updates. WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange pleaded guilty to a single felony charge for publishing US military secrets in a deal that secures his freedom and ends a long-fought legal battle. His release ends a 14-year legal saga in which Assange spent more than 5 years in a British high-security jail and 7 years in the asylum at Ecuadorian embassy in London, battling extradition to the US, where he faced 18 criminal charges. Assange entered the plea in a US district court hearing in Saipan on the Northern Mariana Islands, a US-controlled territory chosen due to his refusal to travel to the mainland United States and its proximity to its native Australia. Assange, who turns 53 on July 3rd, was wished an early happy birthday by Chief Judge Ramona Manglona. All right, Chris Gilbert joins us with more on this. Chris, good morning. Now, WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange's hearing ends in Saipan and he walks free. Now, is it the full and the final end to his ordeals?
Well, the US Justice Department has said that there are no further charges coming. Now, is this the end? That's not for me to say. That, you know, a number of supporters outside the courthouse did encourage Julian Assange to keep doing what he's doing. His lawyer, Barry Pollock, says he should never have been charged at all and that he is in fact a whistleblower. And even though Julian Assange did plead guilty and did say that what he did by releasing, sensitive U.S. government documents from an unspecified source, into the public domain and by founding WikiLeaks, what that did breach the Espionage Act. But he says that he should have been protected under the U.S. Constitution's First Amendment, the freedom of speech and the freedom of press, as it was a work of journalism and an act of journalism, and that the First Amendment and the Espionage Act in the U.S. Contradict each other. However, he is right now currently on a plane heading to Canberra from Saipan, and that's where he is expected to be greeted by his family, and he's currently being escorted by the former Australian Prime Minister Kevin Rudd, who's also the US ambassador to the US for Australia, and we're yet to see what the next chapter holds for him.
All right, Chris, we'll have to see what the next chapter holds for him. We'll leave it here. Thank you so much for joining in with those details. Kenyan President William Ruto is expected to make a statement on the ongoing protests in the country on Wednesday. Earlier, rights groups called for an end to the use of live bullets on protesters after more than 10 people were reportedly killed. Isabel Nakaria reports from Uganda on this.
Began as peaceful protests in Kenya have escalated into chaos and violence, prompting police to fire live bullets and lob tear gas canisters at protesters. Thousands of protesters broke through police barricades and stormed Parliament, setting a section of the House on fire and destroying property. Police vehicles have been torched and several government buildings set on fire. The nationwide protest, sparked by reforms in a controversial finance bill, prompted angry protesters on the streets. They are demanding a complete repeal of the bill that proposes hikes in taxes on several basic items like bread, fuel, cooking oil, and mobile money transactions. Concern is also growing on the alleged abductions of leaders of the protests. Human rights campaigners have condemned the alleged disappearances of several social media influencers in Kenya. Kenyan President William Ruto says he's willing to speak to the protesters and find a way forward. Isabel Nakiria reporting for DD India in Kampala.
The United States has condemned violence reported during protests in Nairobi. State Department spokesperson Matthew Miller urged Kenya to show restraint and provide space for dialogue.
So we condemn the violence reported during protests in Nairobi and around Kenya. We mourn the loss of life and injuries sustained and offer our condolences to the families who lost loved ones. We urge restraint to restore order and provide space for dialogue.
The Indian High Commission in Kenya's Nairobi issued an advisory for Indian nationals to exercise utmost caution, restrict non-essential movement and avoid the areas affected by the protests and violence till the situation clears up. As unrest continues in Kenya, its long-awaited peacekeeping mission recently arrived in Haiti to combat gang violence in the Caribbean country. Haitian Prime Minister Gary Conille vowed on Tuesday that the state will retake control of the country.
I can tell you that the government is on the way to assuming its responsibilities to assert its position and help the population to live and function normally wherever it may be in the country. Finally, we can see that the international force is here to support us and our police force. So we are going to start working little by little to regain control of the country.
In a major development amidst the ongoing Russia-Ukraine conflict, both the countries handed back 90 prisoners of war each on Tuesday, with the United Arab Emirates overseeing the exchange as an intermediary. The Russian ministry said the freed Russian prisoners were being flown to Moscow, where they would undergo medical checkup. Further, Russia said that prisoners had faced mortal danger in captivity. Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky confirmed the return of prisoners of war and said the swap was another step in the process of bringing all detainees back home. The last exchange took place in May, when each side handed over 75 prisoners of war.
Дякую нашій команді, яка працює.
Today, 90 more Ukrainian families are happy. We have returned 90 soldiers from captivity, defenders of Azovstal and Mariupol, Chernobyl nuclear power plant from various front lines. These are army soldiers, National Guardsmen, border guards, and naval forces. Most are private and sergeants, and we will return all others in the same way.
Відповідальності.
U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin and Russian Defense Minister Andriy Belozov held a telephonic conversation on Tuesday and discussed the importance of open lines of communication. Russia's defense ministry said Belozov warned Austin of the dangers of continued U.S. arms supplies to Ukraine in its 28-month-old conflict with Russia.
Secretary Austin also spoke by phone today with Russian Minister of Defense Andrei Belosov. During the call, the Secretary emphasized the importance of maintaining lines of communication amid Russia's ongoing war against Ukraine. The last time Secretary Austin spoke to his Russian counterpart, then Russian Minister of Defense Sergei Shoigu, was on March 15, 2023.
Members of the Ukrainian delegation were applauded by their European counterparts as they formally started accession talks to the European Union in Luxembourg on Tuesday. Ukrainian Deputy Prime Minister Olga Stefanishina said that the start was a historic milestone and it's only the beginning of a longer way. The talks are meant to give the country a political boost. Candidate countries need approval from all the 27 EU members to open and close each step of membership negotiations, giving EU governments numerous opportunities to hold up the process.
Ahead of us, the very dynamic and very massive process of the accession, which will embrace Ukraine's efforts to continue its democratic transformations, embodying the principles of the rule of law and functioning democracy into our reforms, presenting the necessary roadmaps, but also starting the bilateral screening shortly after this conference is held. Many work ahead of us, but the main decision, which could have been taken over this year, is already taken today.
Meanwhile, opening Moldova's first membership talks with the European Union in Luxembourg, Moldova's Prime Minister Dorin Risian said that the country sees its future within the European Union.
On this occasion, I reiterate unequivocally that Moldova sees its future within the European Union, and we will spare no efforts to achieve our strategic goal of becoming an EU member. We welcome the negotiating framework proposed by the EU and hereby express consent to its governing principles, substance of negotiations, and the negotiating procedures.
The International Criminal Court has issued fresh arrest warrants for former Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu and Chief of the General Staff of the Armed Forces. The two Russian officials have been allegedly responsible for war crimes, directing attacks at civilian objects and causing excessive incidental harm to civilians or damage to civilian objects. They are also accused of committing crimes against humanity. Dasha Chernysheва gets us more on Russia's reaction.
Moscow says the ICC decision issuing arrest warrant for former Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu and the Chief of the General Staff of the Armed Forces Valery Gerasimov is null and void. Russia's Security Council, the government body currently headed by Shoigu, said the decision is meaningless as the ICC's jurisdiction does not extend to Russia. Moscow insists that the decision was made within the framework of the West's hybrid war against Russia. And while the ICC accused Shoigu and Gerasimov of targeting civilians, Moscow has always insisted that it has been targeting only Ukraine's military infrastructure. Russian lawmakers say ICC is discrediting itself with such decisions. The order will complicate Shoigu's travels, making it impossible to go to the countries that are part of the ICC. The decision also brings to 8 the number of arrest warrants issued against senior Russian officials since February 2022. ICC arrest warrant against Russian President Vladimir Putin was issued in March 2023. Dasha Chernysheва reporting in Moscow for DD India.
You're watching DD India News Hour. We're heading for a short break. But after the break, US sanctions banking network that allegedly helps Iran's military. North Korea launches ballistic missile towards the sea, which reportedly failed. Philippines committed to working with China after last week's clash.
Nature also finds these uninvited guests quite unpleasant. Let's try to find out how to deal with these uninvited guests in the best way possible.
That you just add water to the container and then there is a killing ingredient inside which ensures that those adults do not emerge out from that, so the force multiplier gets reduced.
The red fire ant. We need to take immediate action to prevent it from spreading further, so we can keep the red fire ant under control. The damage to agriculture is massive.
We're looking to develop pest control techniques that can be used on a large or small scale and on different plants.
Welcome back after the break. You're watching DD India News Hour and I'm Preeti. A quick relook at the top stories once again. Indian Parliament to elect Speaker of the lower house. This would be the first contest in decades. WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange walks free after reaching plea deal in the US court to end years-long legal battle. Mass protest against new taxes turned violent in Kenya. Parliament compounds down, buildings set ablaze. 5 casualties reported. Indian High Commission issues advisory. Russian Defense Minister speaks with his US counterpart for the first time in more than a year. Warns of the danger of further escalating the situation through continued supplies of American weapons to the Ukrainian armed forces. French President Emmanuel Macron will host Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban on Wednesday in Paris for talks. Now, the meeting comes a day before both the leaders are due in Brussels for the latest meeting of the EU Council and just ahead of Hungary taking on the rotating presidency of the EU on July 1st. DD India's correspondent Ross Cullen gets us more.
Well, the two leaders meeting for a working lunch on Wednesday at the Élysée Palace here in the French capital. Lots for them to discuss. Both of them suffered a bruising in the recent European Union Parliament elections. Viktor Orban's Fidesz party returned its worst set of results since Hungary joined the bloc in 2004. And Emmanuel Macron's party, well, they were trounced by the far-right opposition, the National Rally. And Emmanuel Macron is now going through an election campaign that he called after those results on June the 9th. They will also be discussing the upcoming European Council, where the heads of state and government will be meeting in Brussels. One of those issues that they are going to have at the top of their agenda is Ukraine. Emmanuel Macron has been hawkish on Kiev in recent months, doubling down on support for Ukraine militarily, financially and diplomatically. But Hungary has been seen as dragging its feet. We know that Viktor Orban is a friend of Vladimir Putin, the Russian leader, and the current European Union Commissioner for Enlargement is a Hungarian diplomat, and so there are some concerns in Paris that Hungary might slow down that process of trying to expedite Ukraine's accession to the European Union. They will also be discussing the European political community. That is something that was envisaged by Emmanuel Macron and set up as well. It is a bloc that constitutes all of the member states of the European Union, plus other European non-EU states like Norway and Switzerland. The United Kingdom is going to be hosting the next summit in July, but then the autumn meeting will be held by Hungary, and so there will also be discussions about the European political community. Ross Cullen in Paris reporting for DD India.
Canada's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau suffered a huge setback on Tuesday as the Liberal Party lost the by-election from Toronto St. Paul constituency. The constituency that was Liberal stronghold was backed by a Conservative candidate, Don Stewart. Stewart seized the seat with about 42% of the vote against Liberal Party's Leslie Church. Notably, the Liberals currently have 155 of 338 seats in the House of Commons. The substantial blow to Trudeau and his government came ahead of a national election expected next year. Despite the Liberal Party's loss, Trudeau vowed to lead the Liberal Party into the elections next year and to work hard to address the voters' problems. The European Union's Foreign Affairs Chief, Josep Borrell, is set to meet with leaders from Serbia and Kosovo later on Wednesday. The meeting comes as relations between the two nations remain fractious over a year after the Ohrid agreement was struck. William Denslow gets us more from Brussels.
The Ohrid agreement was reached back in March last year and was heralded as a major step towards Serbia and Kosovo normalising relations. It called for the cessation of hostilities and addressed issues including language use and ethnic representation in the public sector. But the EU's Foreign Affairs Chief Josep Borrell says putting the agreement into practice remains a major challenge. He says that's why he's holding a high-level meeting of the Belgrade-Pristina dialogue here in Brussels. EU officials say Borrell will hold separate meetings with each leader before staging a trilateral gathering. The goal is to take stock of previous discussions and forge a path forward. Back in 2008, Kosovo declared its independence, but Serbia has never recognised its statehood. China, Russia and several EU states, including Spain and Greece, also don't recognise Kosovo as a nation. Kosovo is predominantly ethnic Albanian, but Serbs account for roughly 5% of the population. Flare-ups in tensions can be common and were exacerbated following elections last year, when ethnic Albanian mayors took control in a Serb-majority area in the north of Kosovo. William Denslow in Brussels reporting for DD India.
North Korea's launch of an unknown ballistic missile towards the sea off the east coast of Korean peninsula appears to have failed. South Korean military said on Wednesday that the apparent failed missile launch originated from around Pyongyang. Japan's defense ministry said the missile flew to an altitude of about 100 kilometers and a range of more than 200 kilometers before falling outside Japan's exclusive economic zone in the Sea of Japan. The missile launch comes a day after the 74-year anniversary of the beginning of the Korean War. To manage tensions in the South China Sea, Philippines is committed to working with China after last week's clash that seriously injured a Filipino sailor, Manila's foreign minister said on Tuesday. China has disputed the Philippines' account, with its foreign ministry saying the actions taken by its Coast Guard were necessary, lawful and beyond reproach, and that there has been no immediate response to a request for comment on Tuesday by the Chinese embassy in Manila. The U.S. Federal Election Commission on Tuesday granted Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump a second 45-day extension to file personal financial disclosures. Trump had initially been due to report on his personal financial situation to the U.S. election body on May 15th, but was granted an extension until July 1st on request. A legal representative for the former president on Tuesday requested the agency grant the candidate another extension, citing the complexities of his financial holdings. Trump's financial disclosures are closely watched because they offer an indication of the size of his personal wealth. The United States pressed sanctions against nearly 50 entities and people it accused of moving billions of dollars aiding Iran's military. The move targeted dozens of companies in Hong Kong, the United Arab Emirates and Marshall Islands, as well as Iran and Turkey-based firms. The U.S. Treasury Department said that these companies constitute a shadow banking network used by Iran's Ministry of Defense and Armed Forces Logistics and Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. The department added that revenue generated through networks of Iranian exchange houses and foreign cover companies supported the provision of weapons and funding to Iran's proxy groups too, including the Houthi group and the transfer of drones to Russia in the ongoing Russia-Ukraine conflict. Reacting strongly on the U.S. move, Iran's mission to the United Nations said that the sanctions were part of the economic war against Iran. As the world batters extreme weather conditions, damages caused to Rapidan Dam in Minnesota due to heavy rains has made local residents and officials concerned. The dam, severely damaged due to flooding, faced an imminent threat of collapse but was still intact, and there were no mass evacuations on Tuesday. More than 3 million people live in areas impacted by flooding from Iowa to Nebraska to Minnesota to South Dakota. Whereas in Brazil, record floods that killed over 170 people and displaced 500,000 are a warning sign of more disasters to come, as per the United Nations. United Nations Refugee Agency said on Tuesday that roughly 389,000 people in the state of Rio Grande do Sul remain displaced from their homes because of the intense rain and flooding. Scientists say climate change made the flooding twice as likely to happen. Municipal authorities in the northern Mexican mountain ranges dispatched helicopters carrying medical and humanitarian aid to flood-stricken communities on Monday following tropical storm Alberto. Local authorities described the situation as complicated, with roads completely destroyed. Paramedics had to navigate damaged paths on foot to provide medical care to elderly victims in remote locations. The SpaceX Falcon Heavy rocket launched the fourth and final satellite of NASA and NOAA's next-generation geostationary weather satellite from the Kennedy Space Center on Tuesday. The satellite is designed to enhance weather monitoring capabilities across the Western Hemisphere. Shortly after the launch, the rocket's twin boosters executed a precision landing back at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. In more news making it to the headlines from across the world, Mexico's President-elect Claudia Sheinbaum received the Baton of Women from women supporters as a symbolic call for feminist change during her term that will begin on October 1st. The Baton of Women symbolizes the request to lead a feminist agenda that boosts a violence-free environment for women and equality of rights. Sheinbaum won a landslide victory to become the first woman president-elect of Mexico. Dozens of runners, locals and foreigners arrived on foot of the Sayama volcano in Bolivia to race in the Sayama Sky Race. 110 athletes participated in the race, which started at an altitude of 4,860 meters above sea level. Competitors participated in 30 and 8 kilometers categories. Chanel held its haute couture show in the Paris Palais Garnier Opera House on Tuesday, displaying a lineup of sparkly evening wear. The attires ranged from trim, embellished tweed ensembles to voluminous silk taffeta capes. London's Heathrow Airport staged live music shows this summer. The first set of performances were held at Terminal 5. Glastonbury's emerging talent runner-up Olivia Nelson was among the artists who took to the stage. You're watching DD India News. We're heading for a short break, but after the break, benchmark equity indices trading the session with sharp gains. In Euro 2024, Kylian Mbappe scored his first ever goal, but France held to a 1-1 draw. Remembering King of Pop Michael Jackson on his death anniversary.
Nature also finds these uninvited guests quite unpleasant. Let's try to find out how to deal with these uninvited guests in the best way possible.
That you just add water to the container, and then there is a killing ingredient inside which ensures that those adults do not emerge out from that, so the force multiplier gets reduced.
The red fire ant. We need to take immediate action to prevent it from spreading further, so we can keep the red fire ant under control. The damage to agriculture is massive.
We're looking to develop pest control techniques that can be used on a large or small scale and on different plants.
Welcome back after the break. You're watching DD India News Hour and I'm Preeti. Acting upon the mandate of drug abuse prevention and to spread awareness in the Narcotics Central Bureau Delhi Zonal Unit organized a cyclothon, a cycle rally in the national capital on Wednesday. The cycle rally, which started from NCB headquarters in RK Puram, was flagged off by DG of NCB, SN Pradhan. The cyclists from various age groups as well as staff of Narcotics Control Bureau participated in this noble cause. The participants, a mix of seasoned cyclists and enthusiastic newcomers, showcased unity and determination in the spreading of the message. This initiative was part of the global observance of the International Day Against Drug Abuse and Illicit Trafficking, a day dedicated to strengthening action and cooperation in achieving a country or a state free of drug abuse.
We have arranged a cyclothon on this day, and top cyclists of India are participating in the cycle rally. And they are basically, of course, portraying the mission of NCB that they would like to be, they are part and parcel of this fight of NCB against drugs.
Let's get to updates from the world of business now. Global stock indices mostly climbed on Tuesday, with shares of AI chip maker NVIDIA bouncing after a 3-day sell-off. Meanwhile, dollar again slightly gained against the Japanese yen. NVIDIA's stock ended up 6.8%. The Nasdaq jumped more than 1%, also ending a 3-day losing streak. Investors are also gearing up for data on the personal consumption expenditures price index on Friday, which could provide further clues on the inflation picture and when the Federal Reserve might begin cutting interest rates. They also await snap elections in France starting at the weekend and the first US presidential debate on Thursday. All right, getting you more on the Indian markets. The benchmark equity indices opened on Wednesday's trading session with sharp gains after hitting fresh record highs. Sensex climbed 135 points to hit all-time high of 78,188 in early trade, while Nifty was up 28 points at 23,750. In yesterday's trade, Nifty surged to a new all-time high at 23,754, boosted by improved risk on sentiments, while Nifty also performed Bank Nifty in particular also performed impressively. RBI Governor Shaktikant Das is confident of India's growth reaching 7.2% this fiscal. Also, Nifty's key support is at 23,591 with the resistance at 24,000 mark. All right, Shama Mishra is joining us from Mumbai. Shama, we see sharp gains in the markets today. Sensex is already trading at an all-time high, above 78,000. What is your evaluation of the markets and the upturn, the upswing that is being witnessed? How long-lived will it be?
Well, for starters, Preeti, the experts are of the view that this rally, what it should have been during the post results duration, this rally is coming on now, and one more reason to which it is attributed to is the upcoming budget. Now all eyes of the experts or traders of the markets are towards the budget, and a lot of people are expecting a good budget because everyone in the interim budget had a kind of a sense what will be coming in the actual concrete budget. So all eyes are on a budget. And apart from that, we are also understanding that the company's data, the quarterly data are also coming on a positive note rather. And we are also seeing that Bank Nifty was on at an all-time high. Yesterday, the markets are a bit volatile right now, but when it opened, after that it's totally trading in green. What we are also understanding is that by the time the budget is announced, it might touch 80,000, the all-time record high, because experts were of the view that post results it might touch 80,000 or it might cross 80,000, which will be a new lifetime high. So now the experts are expecting or hoping rather that it will be 80,000 very soon, and even the Nifty will break all its previous records. So we are also hoping, and it is expected that if this happens, then there will be some statement coming out from the NSE, coming out from the BSE, and likewise we are understanding that mostly the sectors which are associated with the Indian, the domestic angle, be it the solar, infrastructure, realty, these all sectors will highly gain from this particular budget, because last time also we had seen a lot of announcements were done for the solar panel, for creating the solar infrastructure, for EVs, how do we create the infrastructure, and all these would be now actually made into a concrete policy, made into a concrete plan. So
right.
All eyes are on that, and we are also understanding that the monsoon has started coming in a good form, and it started covering the entire country. So all eyes are on that as well, so that the monsoon is good, the sowing is good, inflation in long run comes down, and everyone's pocket is on ease. So all in all, it is good sign for the domestic as well as the international factors.
All right, Shama, we leave it here. Thank you for joining in with those details. And Microsoft could be on the hook for a $20 billion fine. European officials have accused the tech giant of breaking EU antitrust laws. The announcement comes just a day after Apple became the first company charged under the bloc's new digital competition rules. Tony Waterman has more on this.
This entire investigation centers around Microsoft Teams, which is the tech giant's chat and video app. Microsoft has been bundling this product with its Office suite, so things like Word, Excel, and Outlook. But European regulators say that pairing stifles competition and gives Microsoft an unfair advantage over its rivals like Slack, the workplace messaging app. And in fact, it was Slack that originally filed this complaint to the EU back in 2020. You have to remember that that was at the height of the COVID-19 pandemic. People were working from home, kids were attending school remotely, and these chat and video apps saw a massive spike in usership, and it was and still is a moneymaker for them. Now, in a statement, the EU's top competition watchdog, Marguerite Vestager, said preserving competition is essential because it also fosters innovation. This announcement, though, is just a preliminary finding of the investigation. If it is confirmed, Microsoft, which is one of the most valuable companies in the world, could be fined 10% of its global revenue, which was $211 billion in the last fiscal year. The company, which is led by Indian-American Satya Nadella, has indicated it wants to resolve this issue as quickly as possible and says that it has already unbundled Teams. The EU, though, has been cracking down on what it sees as anti-competitive behavior in the tech industry in recent years. And just on Monday, it brought charges against Apple, accusing the iPhone maker of preventing competition in its App Store. And it, too, faces a hefty fine. Tony Waterman in Austin, Texas, reporting for DD India.
Let's turn focus to sports now. Indian table tennis player Srija Kula achieved a new career high ranking of world number 24 following her victory at the World Table Tennis Contender Tournament in Lagos. The 25-year-old Indian table tennis player jumped 19 places in the latest International Table Tennis Federation rankings released on Monday to displace Manika Batra as the country's top women's singles player. In the thrilling final match held in Lagos, Srija got the better of Ding Yeji of China 4-1. Not only did she secure the singles title, but also emerged victorious in the doubles competition. Consequently, she became only the second Indian woman to make it to the top 25 in the women's singles. All right, let's turn focus to European Championship in Germany now. Kylian Mbappe scored his first ever Euro goal, but France were held to a 1-1 draw by an already eliminated Poland to finish second in Group D on Tuesday. Mbappe, returning to action and wearing a mask to protect his broken nose, opened the scoring in the 56th minute. France needed all the 3 points in order to seal the top spot, but Robert Lewandowski's 79th minute penalty cancelled out Mbappe's spot kick 11 minutes into the second half. France finished second in the group and will face a tougher last 16 tie after Austria turned the section on with its head with a 3-2 win against the Dutch. England finished top and Slovenia also advanced to the knockout stages of Euro 2024 after an uninspiring 0-0 draw in their final Group C match on Tuesday. England had already qualified for the round of 16 and despite another flat performance, the draw leaves them in first place in the group on 5 points. Meanwhile, Slovenia finished level on 3 points with Denmark. The Danes appear to have advanced in the second place due to their UEFA ranking going through with Slovenia, but this is still a subject to confirmation. A Kosovo artist paid homage to Michael Jackson by creating his grain mosaic portrait on his death anniversary. What a work of creativity there. With that, we end this edition of DD India News Hour, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those of you on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. This app is available on both iOS and Android platforms. You can scan the QR code on your screens now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Preeti Kaur signing off, and from all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India News Hour.